Why, hello, my wonderful beings, and welcome on in to the Inkfest. It is time for the Yellow Cup final, here in association with Gfinity, and I am, of course, your girl, TK Layla. And joining me here today, we've got another commentator alongside me. It is, of course, the magnificent McFooty. How are you doing?
I'm good, not too bad. Yourself?
Faring okay, actually. It's been a bumpy but enjoyable few weeks of that. There's been no doubt, and now we gear ourselves up for, as mentioned, the Yellow Cup final. 3 teams have made it this far, and we're going to decide things quite nicely with 2 methods of play. We'll be doing 3 best-of-3 matches in the coming moments in a round-robin format. Each of these 3 teams will take on each other once. They'll be selecting from a specific map pool, but they will all be fighting in order. Splat Zones, Tower Control, Rainmaker. First to win 2 will net themselves that big old point. The top 2 teams from those 3 will then advance into a best-of-7 grand final, where they will battle it out. Again, still with the map pool in a specific order. They'll make their minds up on what those maps will be, and we'll run you through that pool in just a minute. With the winning team walking away with 1,000 Nintendo Gold points per player represented on the teams. The 3 teams we have today are, we've got Affordable Alliteration, we have Squids for Hire, and we have the reigning champions themselves, the winners of the pink and the green cups. It is, of course, Chewits. Have you watched any of the I say watched them. Have you seen them? Have you enjoyed them? Or have you at least seen what Chewits are capable of?
I think in the previous club I played against them, which, let's just say that was a fun ride. But they're the team to be reckoned with as it stands.
Yeah, they are determined to win every single one of these, it seems, and just hoard all of those points to themselves, which, we've seen other teams like that outside of the UK as well, so it's just how it be sometimes. They are seriously the benchmark to beat, and hopefully we'll see some good action between them, Squids for Hire, and Affordable Alliteration. We are going to leave Chewits to one side though, because our first opening match will be between Affordable Alliteration and Squids for Hire. I have the teams up for those, so let's just quickly run through the player listings for those. Affordable Alliteration have at their disposal Cameron, Ducker, Oyasumi, Galactic, Takimi, and Party Octo. I think Octo will be involved today. I'm just trying to figure out which one of those are not in the lobby. I'll update that onto you in just a moment. And for Squids for Hire, we've got Conroe, we've got Geo, we've got Spid, The Mall, and Char. Very familiar names across Squids for Hire. We've seen them do battle. In fact, we've played with and against them, the pair of us, in the past as well. So it'd be nice to see how they all do again going into this cup.
Yeah, some familiar faces and people I've played against. I actually think I played with Gio in League last night. It just randomly assigned us together. So yeah, they've been prepping ready for today's matches.
Yeah, and you like to see that. You like to see that all play out the way it is. Also, massive shout out to Splatoon 2's good old RNG system. You love to see it. So yeah, to update you all as to what will be happening map pool wise. So the actual game modes are fixed in place. So like I said, best of 3s will be Splat Zones, Tower Control, and Rainmaker in that order, which means that we might not actually see Rainmaker in these best of 3s. I seriously hope that doesn't end up being the case and we get to that match 3. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In terms of the maps, we have Manta Maria, Macomart, Inkblood Art Academy, Humpback Pump Track, The Reef, Sturgeon Shipyard, Starfish Main Stage, and Snapper Canal. Hilariously, all Splatoon 2 stages. There's no Splatoon 1 stages in that lineup, which is a little sad, but that's just how it is.
I just remember playing in the previous tournament, and the map selection was interesting. But it's nice. There's a good set of maps. I do find you can get quite decent battles on these maps.
Yeah, main stage always has something going on, especially depending on the mode that you end up going to. Macklemore, pretty wide open. Shipyard, again, so many different ways of being able to take that, especially in matches like Rainmaker. And to be fair, Tower Control really makes a good use of every single area in that stage as well, so it's always fun to see that. Manta Maria, bit more of a narrow stage, but not as fully boxed in as Walleye, like the middle is still pretty open. The Reef, always a classic. We got that wonderful lovely little bridge. Obviously, with Splat Zones, you got 2 areas to ink up instead of the 1. Art Academy, again, another classic, another favorite that people like to go to. And Humpback Pump Track, especially when we have Clamblets, you might see a brush just coming in every now and then with those, because you just run wild on a stage like that with that. And of course, Snapper Canal, we have to at least have some water representation. So again, any kind of action that happens on Snapper, be it zones, tower, Rainmaker, or clams, you always want to see, well, I say you always want to see, but nobody actually wants to see anybody go for a little dip.
Sometimes it's just unavoidable.
Yeah. So it is inevitable.
I've had many of baller situations where I've ended up in the drink.
Yeah, especially when that wonderful, when people quickly realize that you could just, in squid form, just jump into the baller and just knock the baller into the into the water. It's like, that's a bit mean. But no, we're just getting both of our teams set up. Once we have them in, we'll be good to go. There was a slight bit of delay, but we'll get those matches in for you in no time. So whilst we do so, should we we've talked a bit about Squids for Hire, Conroe, Geo, Spid, Maul, Char, these are people that we often see, not just here, but we've seen them in Nintendo Players UK for the past few years as well. They pretty much always show up in a lot of tournaments that have been ran for Splatoon 2, especially here in the UK. For affordable alliteration, we do have listings for their good old weapon picks. Cameron, who I believe is indeed playing today, they opt for the brushes and the splatter shots, so there's no Clamblets in the best of 3 for this section, but might still see a brush come out dependent on the mode, maybe for tower control, who knows. Ducker, I believe, is in this one as well. They are a bit more flexible, but you might often see them with the Octashot or a Blaster, which is always nice, that good old AoE particle effects. I know some people don't particularly like them, but still, it does its job. If you get a little bit of a ping with the AoE, if your teammate is literally right behind you, they only really need to tap them one more time to just get that splat before you. So it's a good combination. And Party Octo, again, able to use the blasters as well. So between them and Ducker, there's probably going to be at least one of them showing up. And we're just gonna wait to see, because I don't think Galactic or Photon are involved. So I think that's why the slight delay at this point is affordable resolution, just trying to get themselves a last second substitution, which is unfortunate. But again, you see that again, another player on that team favoring the Blaster, the Rapid Blaster Pro Decker. So clearly something that they're all very comfortable doing.
Yeah, but it does seem to be quite a somewhat popular weapon for people to use in some maps, setups, specifically tower probably, because if you can get those direct hits, then the splats are quite easy to come by.
Yeah, those good old direct hits, between that and the charges, you get that satisfying bang, and it's always a nice feeling to hear. Obviously, we saw you last time round in the cups. It was always fun. It was always fun seeing you. I think, like, anytime I see people that I sort of like met in person and being able to sort of like play against, play with, and then be able to commentate on your stuff, it's like, it's a really cool feeling. Like, I think it's like between you and Splash, it's like, it's always been, I feel like Splash has been a bit more personal because of the fact that we were, like, I was in Gloucestershire at the time, so it's like, I feel like watching Splash's progress has been a bit more personal to me, because it's like, yeah, we literally, that was my first qualifier experience for Splatoon 2, which is going up against Splash, and that was just amazing. So in terms of what you do for your competitive play, what are you looking out for today? Like, what are you hoping people will do or bring to the table?
well, I wouldn't say my experience as a competitive player is that brilliant, but the full extent of my main competitive side of things is basically Squid League. That's the more extent that I have of my competitive scene. But it's just nice to see from players, like, don't panic, communicate as a team, and like the strategy you go about it, because the way, like, I've been in many matches where you sit there and you think, oh, I'm down and out, like we've got no chance of coming back into this. But if you just sort of like gather yourself, take a minute to just, like, although the counter's going down, still, obviously, if it's really low, then you don't have the time period for it. But if you have got like a penalty, for example, or if you have got the time to sort of regroup yourselves, think about your strategy going back in to retain the objective, whether it be the zone, whether it be the Rainmaker or the tower, it's just finding that right time to go in and do it together with specials, to do it together as a team. And you'll probably find, actually, even though you think you're down and out, the tides can turn very, very quickly if you get it that way.
Yeah, the most important rule about any esport competition, especially one like Splatoon 2, it is never over until that timer hits 0. And even then, if it's in your control and you are the ones that are behind, you've got that overtime period to deal with as well. Yes, the pressure is on you, but it's never over until that whistle goes to say, okay, that's enough, that is time. So it's always great to be able to see that coordination. And again, as a result of that, you might get a team that becomes that little bit too confident, and it's like, but then they've got no specials and the entire enemy team do, and they use those specials accordingly. Because it's like, for tower control, there's no point popping missiles and Stingray with 5 seconds left on the timer when overtime is clearly going to happen. Like, you pop that then and there to take that away from overtime so that they don't push that any further. You get the general idea. It's all about keeping your calm and knowing when to and when not to use your specials, because you certainly won't want to use it with 30 seconds to go, because depending on your weapon, you might not charge that special up in time. So you always have to have a little bit of leeway.
Oh, yes. I think there's many times where people might have panicked, and I know for one, I've done that before, where you've pulled up the Stingray just a bit too early, and it's expired before the timer runs out, and so you're kind of in a bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Like, at that point, you have to very much rely on the rest of your team to like help cover you a little bit. It looks like we do have confirmation the last second substitution has been found for affordable alliteration, and I believe it's going to be another familiar face. And we generally see the behind the scenes, and now they're actually getting a bit more. Malvo is cupping on up to the plate, so this ought to be very interesting to see how quickly affordable alliteration are able to gel with their recent, because it's like, there's one thing to be able to play with your substitutions, like, yes, you don't maybe play with them necessarily on a regular basis like your mains, but you still know what they're doing, you still know what they're about, and you're able to gel in quite nicely when the substitution needs to come in. When it's somebody that isn't normally someone that you play with on a regular basis, it becomes a little bit harder, because like, you might know them, but maybe you haven't played with their play style in that specific way. So it's definitely going to be all about how quickly affordable gel together with Malvo at this point.
Yeah, I'm assuming if he has joined like a voice chat with them, maybe. Malvo is rather fond of the Lunar Blaster, so whether he uses that, we will soon find out. But it's going to be having a last minute substitute can sometimes be very problematic, because you don't know what they play or their play style, like you said. But hopefully, the team can gel quite well, and we'll see some close matches.
I mean, the fact that you said that they generally go to the Lunar Blaster pretty much means that they've yeah, affordable alliteration keeping their blaster motif intact then. Like, yeah, you haven't really lost much then at that point. So yeah, we might see Ducker flex maybe onto the Octoshot and not the blaster then, especially if Party Octo is also going to bring in a Lunar Blaster as well. So definitely going to be interesting to see how they coordinate that. And it looks like it'll be Splat Zones on Manta Maria to start ourselves off with. It will be that good old narrow stage. Again, it is a split Splat Zone, so there'll be 2 of the buggers that you'll have to ink up. Naturally, you will not start ticking points down unless you control both. If any of them get at least half, it will dissipate and you will have to take control again. Affordable in the yellow, Squids for Hire in the blue, and already we see an Octopus coming on out to go up against an Explosion, and of course the good old Splat Junior, which is just so quick at farming up that ink tower.
Oh yeah, the Junior is definitely a weapon that is used quite a lot in Splat zones. I'm not too sure. I think it might be Spid that has picked up the Junior. But yeah, 2 zones having to paint here. You do need that turfable weapons.
And already we're going to see it majority blue for the time being as Squids for Hire begin to push on up, and already the Octoshot, in fact both the Octoshot and the Splattershot Pro are both already down. So 4-2 advantage, and look exactly where Squids for Hire are, already pretty much into the spawn area of Affordable. A bit too aggressive there, and just get taken out by the Octopus. Stamp is set and ready to go, but cannot use it in time because Spid once again is able to shut them down before it begins.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult now, having the Explosher and that Pro defending that left zone for them. It's kind of difficult for an Octobrush to get back into play here with the range capabilities of those 2 weapons.
Yeah, melee weapons are not great, especially when they are at the furthest point of range, like those 2 weapons will be able to give off. Rear Bomb is up and ready to go. It'll be aimed straight towards the bush, and once again, Octo just cannot get in there in time. The bubbles come out, but it's not going to matter in the slightest. Practically a near wipe, and that was 100-0 for Squids for Hire, who take the first point.
Yeah, great play there from Squids for Hire. We've seen it in many times when we've seen them play together. Obviously, a slightly variation of the team setup with Comro and Char being the 2 players that are coming in for Squids for Hire this time round. But Geo, Spid, and Mole really know how to work together, and they just kept that zone. The other team really struggled.
Yeah, they just could not get back onto that zone, even with the bubbles popping on out. You know, it's all well and good having those bubbles out there, but if there's nobody behind them to force them to pop, unfortunately they're just sitting there doing nothing else, and that's exactly what happened for Affordable in that position. So already a point down, and it does look like they're going to randomize the rest of them. So basically they'll play one stage, they'll take it off the randomizer, and then progress from there. And the randomizer has given us Starfish main stage for tower control as we get ourselves ready for matchup number 2. Remember, these matches are best of 3s in this stage, so Squids for Hire only need to win 1 more here to take that good old important point going in towards that grand final situation.
Yeah, they've got the upper hand here. Tower control Starfish is definitely a complicated one of all the modes, really, for a Starfish main stage to be picked, because the tower will basically be level to most of the higher platforms. So it's really difficult to push the tower on this one through those checkpoints. So it'll be interesting to see how the team set it up. I know the range would be your friend on this map for sure.
Yeah, range would be your friend, and also bearing in mind that this is also tower control. As long as you have let's say a blaster, for example, you basically point that towards the tower, there's a fairly high chance that you might tag somebody around there. It's a very quick, easy, get the heck off that tower, otherwise you are probably going to go down at my second shot of asking. So we'll see how this one plays out, and sure enough, not 1, not 2, but 3 blasters on the side of Affordable. 2 of them are Lunas. One specifically the Kenza, and we've also got the Neo Clash. I've never seen that in competitive for months.
It's nice to see a Clash Blaster come out. Melvo, they're trying to do the flank with the Luna Blaster. The problem with the Luna, it's good, close range, but when the player gets away, it's really hard to get the splat. But Melvo avoiding the sniper here, which I think is coming from Geo, on that GooTuber.
Good old YouTuber. Again, oh my goodness.
That was a well-placed splat from Geo.
That was smooth. I don't think Melville will be that annoyed to get picked off by that one. I mean, yes, they will be. They go all the way back to spawn. And Cameron as well. Mid-air drop. Geo with 2 fantastic little hits with the GooTuber. And with that is checkpoint 1 done and dusted.
Yeah, they're really pushing through now. The use of the other 3 teams really pushing up on that platform there. That's what you need to do when you're pushing the tower. Push up on the platforms to try and either get splats or push the people back. But Cameron gets that splat on Geo with that Clash Blaster. but Chara is there ready to jump on the tower and continue that push.
Yeah, they're already pretty much at the final. In fact, Bomb Rush tried to come out, could not do so, but splatted by the Ink Mine! You don't obviously see that one ping up these days either, so we're getting all of the boxes ticked off in this one, but it looks like the final checkpoint, Geo does come down with the splashdown. That should do it. In fact, that will do it. It's just the Clash Blaster left, and that is 2-0 for Squids for Hire. A little bit messy towards the end there, but crucially, Squids for Hire get it done.
Yeah, great defense play with that tower work from Squids for Hire. Once they made that push, they were not letting the other team back in. There was last-ditches efforts from all players on the other side, but unfortunately, they weren't able to get enough splats to stop the push from happening.
Unfortunately not, and with that, that means they already have one defeat in the book for Affordable Alliteration as Squids for Hire go to the top of the group for the time being. Of course, they have Chew on the good old Chewits Mafia to take up as well. We're just going to find out confirmation as to which of the two teams will be doing battle next. I would assume the Chewits will probably take the stage. I don't know who it will be between just yet, so we'll keep you all posted. But yeah, 2-0 for Squids of Hire against Affordable Alliteration. Again, another 100-0 for the sides of Squids for Hire, doing it in both splat zones and in tower control as well. Tower control, a little bit slower to get there, but then again, it's tower. You can basically pause that checkpoint there for as long as you possibly can. And to be fair, Geo was just a good old anchor on that tower. The second they made it onto the tower, they really didn't look like they were going to go down anytime soon. And to be fair, they did get taken out by that Clash Blast, but how quickly they were able to recover thanks to the rest of the team at that final checkpoint was just wonderful to see. So really good cooperation, really good tactics for Squids for Hire in that.
Yeah, great tactics from them. I think we're seeing Squids for Hire versus Chewit now. So I think it'll be interesting to see whether they change their strategy. Obviously, Squids for Hire had complete control of the last two matches they've just played. Obviously, Chewit coming from 2 cup victories, they look like the more favourable team. I'm sure both these teams have come up against each other a lot in the last few cups and matches. So I think their strategies will change. I think they do need to be aggressive, though. I think if they go out aggressive, they will start to try and get some points on the board, and it will favour them later down the line.
Yeah, because the second Chewits start going, it's going to be very hard to slow them down. Like we've seen them time and time again, not just in these cups via Gfinity, but in other tournaments as well. They will just start off incredibly aggressive, and if they don't get shut down in that first push, Chewits can often just run away from it. So we'll see how that one will play out between these two, and it looks like we might have just a little bit of a pause whilst we make sure that both teams have their respective member. I almost said chewing on up. That was definitely not the word I was looking for. This is what happens when you bring puns into your team names. They start to affect the commentators as well, and I think a lot of us could definitely say that I absolutely caught them out before.
It's either that or they make it difficult to say make the commentator's worst nightmare of having to pronounce it and pronouncing it wrong.
Do you remember that time a couple of years ago where a team did enter with that specific long town name in Wales?
The Welsh name, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was Barry who had to pronounce it, and it's just like, oh great. It's like you could see it in his face, like, do I have to do this?
Yeah, it's definitely a caster's curse when you have to pronounce a name that you really find difficult.
Yeah. It often be like that, and the best part is like it's not the first time I kind of like seeing something like that, because for someone who used to attend anime conventions, I know it seems weird saying that with the year and a half that we've had, but back when conventions used to be a thing, you would have cosplay masquerades and whatnot, and sometimes you'll have like the person who's hosting the event suddenly rapidly realize that they have to now pronounce some quite hard Japanese names for some of the characters, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna butcher this, but so it's like, it be like that. And it looks like we do have all players queued up and ready to go. Just to remind you as to who is on the Chewit side. We've got IPS on show today. The rest of the team is consisted of Ninja Train, Snipes, Spore, and Sandwich. I can see Snipes in there. I can see Spore in there. I don't know who Chew is, though. So, I'm not entirely sure who that is player-wise. If somebody could let me know, I would greatly appreciate
I'm
that.
assuming that's the train, Chew.
There we go. So it is Train. That's it. I don't know why I didn't. Again, I don't know why I didn't put that together. It's like, oh yeah, choo. Haha. Well done. Very well played. So we can tell you that from those four, IPS generally goes for NZAP Mini Splatling. Chew generally goes for Tetrajulies, often going for the Slayer roles of the team. For Snipes, I mean, do I have to spell that one out? For Snipes, you'd expect the long-range shenanigans for them. And as for Spore, the Ink Brush or the Octobrush. So again, we'll see a brush on show in this set, potentially.
Yeah, it's nice to see brushes being used in the competitive scene. It's not necessarily always used, but it does seem like a lot of people are more opting for it nowadays.
That makes past me very happy when I used to try and get brushes involved. Like, why? And now people aren't afraid to bring brushes in. I'm like, yay! I'm always late. I'm always too early is what it is. And it's the kitchen gun. Bamboozler is out and about. Per usual for Snipes, we've got that Kenza machine as well, the NZAP, and of course the custom Julie Squelchers. As for the opposing side, we've got the Exposure back, the Splattershot Jr., the K-Pro, and some Julies, specifically the Hero Replicas. It's nice to see those come out for a change.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Squids for Hire. They're already 2 down with Chewit currently in control of the zone. There goes Char, and I think Conroe is probably just retreating a little bit now just to let the team regroup, but Chewit have definitely taken complete control of this match from the off.
Yeah, Snipes has already fired off those missiles as well, just to give them a little extra thing to worry about, and the Inkstorm out as well, so just consistent inkage on the side of Chewit. Geo finally getting the Explosion going as well. Slowly but surely they are making their way up front, and they have at least managed to stop one zone for the time being, but that is all it's going to be for the time being, because Chewit will quickly yoink that right back into their side of the field and already past the halfway mark, and pretty much a near wipe as the rest of Squids for Hire begin to spawn back in.
Yeah, again, we're doing another map with 2 zones, and it's very difficult to cap that back when the other team has control. They're trying Squids for Hire, but they had one, they nearly had the second, but they couldn't quite cap the second one, so no penalty points for them.
Yeah, none whatsoever, and we're already down to single digits, and I think this is going to be too little too late at this point. They just cannot get out of there. Another double splat, and that will be that. Chewit are already up for 1 in this set, and crucially, no team has yet been able to put any other points on the board. It's just been 100-0 in 3 pushes in a row.
Yeah, quite some display of dominance, shall we say, from the teams that are winning currently. I think that was a real tough map mode combination for Squids for Hire to deal with. 2 zones. I think if that was a single zone at that point, they might have been able to cap it and had some penalty points. But that's how it'd be. So let's see what they go on with in this the next mode in tower control.
Yep, we're going to get ourselves ready for matchup number 2. And it is going to be Sturgeon Shipyard at the randomizer who's going to pick for tower control. So I did mention this very near the start of this stream. Sturgeon Shipyard tower control is always a pretty nice stage combination to be able to see, because you basically in tower control you really are utilizing every aspect of this stage.
Yeah. Just reading Nikash's message there. Reef used to be a 1-zone map, and I agree. I preferred it when it was a 1-zone map. Not very much agree with that. But yeah, moving on to Sturgeon Tower Control. I've had many of close matches on this one to remember. It's the middle section is very difficult to get past the first checkpoint because it can be rather crowded because you're obviously in one section of the map. But once you get there, it's trying to stop the push that then becomes problematic. But hopefully we see a pushback from either side.
Let us certainly hope so. So, at this stage, of course, the Bamboozler coming back out for snipes. Geo going for the really long-range weapon. Coming in with the Jet Squelcher alongside the Kenza shot, the Kenza machine, and of course, those wonderful... ends up again, the Slush machine Kenza on the Chewit side as well, and sticking with the custom jewelries, and it's already looking like a 4 versus 2. They have lost their respective machine as well, but you feel like it's only inevitable for Chewit to hop onto that tower, and that's exactly what they do. And of course, it's the Bamboozler who just looks at you and just takes one wonderful little splat.
Yeah, that was great pressure from Spore using that Kenza machine. Got a couple of splats, did go down in the end, but by then the rest of the team were with them where they had died, and they were just able to keep the push going.
And make that first checkpoint on the cart. Although it has somewhat stabilized a little bit. In fact, the tower going back towards the center, so good defense initially from Squids for hire, and they do manage to take the Bamboozler out of the equation, but they can't get the splash down. Taken out in midair, the missiles come down at the very least, but the push resumes for Chewit.
Yeah, that was... Spid tried to do the flank there with the machine, managed to get one, tried to do the splashdown, but unfortunately with 3 players shooting at him, really struggled to get that splashdown complete, to get those splats. But Geo getting that splat on Spore, but getting done by the bamboo from behind.
Yeah, I think that confused me just as much as you did. I'm not entirely sure how they got up there, but okay, that's exactly what the Bamboozler did. Heckin' bamboozled of that, there is no doubt. So, just over 3 minutes left to go. It's 100 to 54 at the moment. It's not a one done and deal just yet. The Squids for hire are doing pretty okay on defense, but they've got to be able to turn that into an aggressive front as well.
Yeah, they're just waiting to get to at least 2 splats, I think, because otherwise there's no chance for them to really make much of a push. Ball, they're pushing up on the Jet Squelcher and getting that splat, and really being very aggro with this sloshing machine.
And that was a wipe as well, being incredibly aggressive. I guess that's no surprise for Sport. This is pretty much what they do on a regular basis. Splashdown almost connecting, but kicking out at the last possible second. But it's enough of the distraction to get the push going again for Chewits. They've managed to get past the halfway mark and on to 44. They may have had a couple of casualties in there, Squids for hire, but Spid is still around trying to get the surprise on them. Actually assisted with 1 splat. It does get taken down in the end by who else but the Bamboozler. And that is going to get them to the second checkpoint.
Yeah, Snipes here pushing up now more with that bamboo. They're at that last checkpoint and they're slowly working their way through it. But this is where Squids for hire need to try and stop it, because that's their last safety net, shall we say.
Yeah, it certainly is, and the missiles are going to come out as well just to try and keep them tucked into their own area. Snipes with the 1v1, gets the 1v1, has to take out 2 of them, does get the trade in the end, so it keeps it at a 2v2 situation. Spid gets a direct hit with their machine as well, and that is again another good hold. Very well played.
Yeah, well played from Squids for hire. That was a complete wipe on the side of the other team, and now they're able to let the tower reset itself. Unfortunately, it's got quite a long way to go back, but they just need to keep those splats up to see if they can now start adding some points on the board for themselves, which they do.
Yeah. They finally managed to break that 3-match combination of not being able to score a point in any of those matches, and they have it on checkpoint 1, and suddenly this is going a completely different way. I mean, yes, they've still got a ways to go, but they're past the first checkpoint. What a lovely comeback this would be if they could make this happen. We've got 1 up on the grate, and that is Spid, who's now having to go 1v1. We've got the Julies rolling up. It's Chew. They have managed to get at least 1 splat on their favor. They've managed to stop the push. Gets the 1 in the corner. 33 to 17. If you'd have told me how that would have been 2 minutes ago, I would not have believed you, but that's just proof anything can happen. This wonderful game we call Splatoon. Yeah,
great push there from Squids for hire. They managed to get that wipe, and they didn't just let the tower go back. They pushed on and let the tower come back to the middle on its own, and it allowed them to get some more splats and make that such a great push. Unfortunately, they reached that last checkpoint, but they've got to get through it to get anywhere near close to what the Chewits have.
Yeah, and unfortunately they're being pushed all the way back towards spawn. Missiles are going to come down, but it won't come down quick enough And it will be a KO after all of that. Really good, good final stand, if you will, from Squids for Hire. They gave it everything possible, but unfortunately not to be this time around. It is a 2-0 on the side of Chewits, but significantly closer than expected.
Yeah, that last minute or so of that match was very backwards and very close. So one team made a decent push. It was prevented from finishing, and they reset, and the other team then went back. But again, the risk you have when getting wiped, especially at this level, is that the teams will push up and stop you from coming out of your spawn very, very quickly, and it makes counter pushes even more difficult.
But they gave it their all, but it's going to be Chewits who are going to pop themselves in with a win on their side. So basically the way this looks is as follows. Squids for Hire have played both of their round-robin matches. They have won one against Affordable Alliteration and lost one against Chewits. Chewits have won one. Affordable Alliteration have lost one. So it comes down to this to see who will be making it through into the top section. It'll be Chewits versus Affordable Alliteration in our final best of 3 of the day. That will be coming up next.
Yeah, Affordable Alliteration obviously losing to Squids for Hire, quite with a strong fight from Squids for Hire. So it'll be interesting to see how Affordable Alliteration go on against Chewits.
Just having the rest of AA hop on back on in, and of course the map pool does get itself reset, so the same 8 stages will be in the randomizer, so that will be up for grabs in just a moment. And again, once one stage has been played, it will be taken off, because we know we like to keep things fresh here. That's just the Splatoon way.
It's nice that we've actually had 4 different maps so far in the randomizer.
I would like to thank you for jinxing that.
My bad!
That's normally something that I mention as well, so...
I should have waited until after this match.
That's just how it be. I mean, to be fair, once we get to the best of 7, we should hopefully see the rest of the stages and the rotation. I say that, again... It could be a 4-0, but at least we will see every mode in the grand final. I mean, having said that, though, it wasn't straightforward for Chewits. Yes, they had that massive push that finally got them past the second checkpoint, and all they needed to do was get the tower back there just to score points easily. But, you know, credit to Squids for Hire. Not only did they not give up, they got the wipe, and from that wipe, they didn't look like they were going to get stopped. Like, they pushed all the way forward and got it to that second checkpoint. It was just incredible to do that against a team like Chewits.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to come down to. I think in like any competitive match, you do have to really be careful with splats. If you are seeing a lot of your teammates going down, the best thing to do is retreat and regroup. Because when you get a wipe, you kind of staggered, and it makes things a little bit more problematic when you are trying to push back in again.
Yeah, sometimes you'll get that really awkward wipe where it's significantly more staggered, where the 3 of them have gone down, and then as they're respawning in, the final member who's still up then gets taken out as well. It's like, now we gotta wait a little bit for bring in. So it's always a balancing act as to when to be able to do the whole regroup. It's like, do you join back in and hope that your last remaining player is still able to keep themselves up so you can then rendezvous with them, or do you just go, okay, we might have to hold back just a little bit because we're not entirely sure if they're gonna make it back in time or not?
Oh yeah, and the thing is as well, when you get a team wipe, the opposition loses all of its specials, so it makes it even more difficult for them to push back in, because they'll have to charge all that up first.
Yeah, not every Inkling or Octoling comes in with stuff like special safer. To be fair, there's other things that you want to have on your abilities. For example, you most certainly won't be running that on a weapon like, say, the Bamboozler. I don't want things that can save my ink. I want main power up always. Which, to be fair for the bamboos, it's understandable. You get ludicrous, as you have seen so far with Snipes using it. It's just if Snipes hits you, there's a very high chance you're going down.
Yeah, even if, especially in these types of competitions where you don't just have one person shooting at you, you have multiple. So if the bamboo makes contact, you're more likely to either get an assist or subsequently die, get splatted there. So yeah.
It's like, got caught in one tiny pixel of an ink storm, you're gone. You're gone. Oh dear. Okay, so we have ourselves. Hey, you haven't jinxed it just yet, because we have got Humpback Pump Track, and we are going to Splat zones for it. So again, always a nice little combination. Again, you probably don't see Chewits mixing things up anytime soon, because they've made things work with everything so far. Having said that, Affordable Alliteration are all fully locked in. They know exactly what they want to do. And now we're going to get ready for matchup number 3, the final match of our round robin stage to decide which teams will be going in to the grand final. It will be Chewits coming up first in the yellow, the Lunar Blaster coming on out. Meanwhile, on the other side of things for Affordable Alliteration, we've got that Explosion coming on back on out, and of course the two Kenta variants. Heck, we've got a Dynamo as well on the side of Chewit, so interesting choices all around.
Yeah, I think that's coming out from Snipes, actually, the Dino. I do like Humpback zones. It's one of those ones that can go backwards and forwards very quickly and can be hotly contested. But Chewit straight away out with control of that zone.
That does not surprise me, and obviously with that Dynamo specifically, you've got Booyah Bomb as well, so a lot of good utility at Snipes' disposal. They're going all the way in, flinging the Dynamo straight up at Galactic, who has to pop the ball to at least protect themselves somewhat. They were hoping to try and get involved a little bit more there, but unfortunately stuck in the corner. Booyah Bomb is going to keep them there, and the Dynamo just gets the effective little flick over. And again, because the walls are so small in the Humpback contract, weapons like the Dynamo and the buckets can just fling on over those, no problem at all.
Yeah, they're definitely weapons specifically favoured in this map. Just throwing that ink over the top of those walls is very helpful, because even if you just get a chick of the damage off of them, I'm sure someone can hit them.
And with that, that is going to be another point in the bag for Chewits, as they look to go through to the grand finals without conceding a single point. We'll soon find out if they can keep that going as we head towards Tower Control, but a really dominant display once again. And look at that, unfortunately for AA, only Melvo was the one to get one splat in that entire match for Affordable Alliteration. That just goes to show you the sheer power the Chewits have at their disposal.
Yeah, they're definitely a dominant team in this tournament, that is for sure.
Yeah, it's like the second they took the zone, they just... I mean, you saw that with the Dynamo as well. Like, you saw what Snipes did. It's like the second they realized they had control and their teammates were not really going down, they just quickly hopped onto the grate on the right-hand side and just joined them. It's like... It's like when you have the confidence that Chewits have, where they know that, you know, they've pretty much formed themselves a wall at the spawn, and, you know, a lot of people can often struggle just getting out of spawn alone when stuff like that happens. And to be fair, when you see the way that Chewits play, it goes back to what we mentioned earlier. If you can't stop them in that first push, they'll run away with the match.
Yeah. Sometimes when they are being that aggressive, it's worth not necessarily going towards them. Let them... That's where you get to the point where some teams can get overzealous and they push too far forwards. And if you're able to get those splats, then it gives you the advantage. But I think Chewits are quite smart towards that. I'm sure they've played enough competitive matches in their time to know not to overextend themselves.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to be pushing on into Tower Control. Our second matchup is always going to be Tower Control. And amusingly enough, we have 6 for 6. Another new stage. It will be Inkblood Art Academy coming on up for Tower Control. And again, another lovely little interesting thing, because normally we have that middle plinth, that lovely middle building spot that a lot of fights can sometimes go back and forth with. Like controlling that pod, you've got a lot of height coverage and you can make a beeline for anything there. Not with tower control. That entire middle section is gone. Tower is just on the level playing field. So we'll see what both teams bring to the table. We've got a Luna coming out from AA alongside a Charger. I believe that's just the base splatter. That's weird just seeing the base version of that.
Some people just don't like the scope.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. I mean, you can hold your storage that way, so... And it's going to be Melvo who has that, but unfortunately already taken down by the oncoming storm that it is the dualies of Chew. And their teammates are already quickly joining them because whilst they're doing all of this in the spawn area, guess who is on the tower? They're already going all the way forward. Snipes is going to charge missiles up and it is just getting absolutely into the thick of things. They're past the halfway mark. They're pretty much all the way into
They've stole the tower.
Like, oh, they have done.
Ducker's stolen it.
The Lunar Blaster of all things, but they weren't able to keep it for long. Galactic is still there as well with the dualies, but they just cannot get into positions enough. And that's going to be checkpoint 2 done and dusted as well.
Yeah, that was a great sort of play there from AA. They were able to get that to the tower, retreat it back, and stop the push happening. And I think they're down to 1 player now. Chewit, or 2. But Ducker's now got control of this tower. And they just put it back to the middle. It gives them a bit of time to reset themselves and hopefully push the opposition back.
Hopefully, but Snipes is taking part in a 1-1 on Galactic. Galactic now has some form of assistance, but I think they just lost them immediately as it's going to be the Ken's machine who went straight down. See the back in just a moment. The Inkstorm not going to do much either, and Ducker does go down in the midst of it. IPS with the Ink quickly hopping on forward. I do apologize. There was the exposure that we have at this disposal as well. And unfortunately for Melvo, was not paying attention to IPS, who just quickly swims in for a quick little splat, and already that's the final checkpoint.
Yeah, it's pushing up now into the spawn, Galactic being the only one left, and I think that's going to be game.
Yeah, it absolutely is going to be game. Melvo take it down at the literal last second, and 3 best of 3 matches in a row. It has ended 2-0, and for the second time in a row, it will be Chewits.
Yeah, congrats to Chewit. That was some severe aggressive play from them. They were not letting AA come back with that one. AA did well into make to steal the tower back and just like retreat it slightly, but unfortunately Chewit just a bit too strong, and they weren't able to get a point on the board.
Yeah, that is Chewits for you. They are seriously a team to be reckoned with at this stage, and they are looking to go 3 for 3 in these cups in association with Gfinity. So, with that being said, the round robin is done and dusted. Affordable Iteration losing both of their matches means that they will be not taking part in the grand final. Chewits winning both of their matches by 2-0 against AA and against Squids for Hire, who at least were able to get a win over Affordable Alliteration also by 2-0, means that it is going to be Chewits versus Squids for Hire in our best of 7. And remember, the winning team will get their hands on 1,000 Nintendo Gold points for each of the players taking part in today's stream.
It's definitely a prize Chewits have already experienced.
Not once, but twice. No. They are determined to win all of these, and do remember that if you are watching this and you want to try and make it so that Chewits can't win another one of these, or at least give Chewits more teams to go up against, the Purple Cup does start next weekend as well. It starts the 27th and the 28th of November. We'll have our second batch on the 4th and the 5th of December, with the finals of that cup, and I believe the last one of the 4 cups we have will be taking place on the 11th of December. And again, all of these are running via the Inkfest website. So you can feel free to have a look at that at Splatoon, inkfestuk.co.uk. And yes, you will note that Gfinity are involved with this. I know they're sharing this and they are hosting this on their respective channels as well. So hello to the good fine folks over at Gfinity. Hopefully you're having fun and enjoying these cups so far. and we are preparing ourselves for our grand finale, our best of 7. In order, the game modes will go as follows. We will start with Splat Zones, we'll then go into Tower Control, Rainmaker, Clan Blitz. That will be all 4 of our ranked game modes in this game, done and dusted. If more games are needed, we'll go back to Splat Zones for match 5, Tower Control for match 6, and Rainmaker for match 7. If we get that far, bearing in mind, Chewits are yet to concede a game in this tournament so far, having beaten both teams by 2 points to nil.
It'd be interesting. I need to double check actually, but did they lose any matches in the qualifying?
They've lost none in the qualifiers. I think we are not surprised to hear that at this point. So basically, yeah, Chewits are just on fire. They just don't know when to concede the game in any of the fires for that matter. So we'll see we'll see if they can keep that streak going at this point, because we saw a glimmer of it. We saw a glimmer of hope from Squids for Hire in the previous matchup, where they were able to suddenly surprise them in tower control and at least get it to that second and final checkpoint, but just couldn't quite get it that step further because the damage had very much well and truly been done in that first half from Chewits. But if we could see another resurge, Squids for Hire, maybe we could see a game loss on the side of Chewits. But just all depends on that map mode combination, I think.
Yeah, I think the 2 zones was difficult for Squids for Hire. To be fair, any map that has 2 zones can be very difficult to counteract when you are being pushed quite aggressively. So it'll be let's see whether we have a slightly different map mode combination as we did before. I think if we have 1 zone, it might be even more hotly contested.
Certainly find out in just a moment. Looks like all players are in the lobby, so we are just waiting for confirmation as to when this will start, and we'll get all of the good old Squid Octoling action with you in just a moment. And I think that's always a nice thing to remember, that obviously for those of you who may have missed a lot of the things before the Octo expansion and whatnot, for the longest time it was just Inklings that came into this came into our wonderful turf war side of things, and now we've got Octolings courtesy of the Octo expansion, which is still wonderful. And obviously, we'll get both of those playables. I hope we get them both still playable. I mean, we should do anyway for Splatoon 3. And I know we don't have more information to share in terms of Splatoon 3 shenanigans, but knowing Nintendo, it'll be worth the wait when they do drop more. With Splatoon 2, we did have a standalone direct for Splatoon 2, and that is when they gave us more stuff about the maps and modes in them, more information about Pearl and Marina. In fact, they literally didn't debut off the hook until the standalone Splatoon 2 direct. So I would hope and I would think that's going to be a similar way they'll do it this time around as well, where Splatoon 3 will get its own standalone direct, and we'll get information about who the next batch of idols might be, since we know that the Squid Sisters are going to be heavily involved in the single player.
Yeah, it's Splat. I think everyone's eagerly awaiting the more Splat 3 news. So I guess we'll see in the new year. Very much doubt you'll have anything between now and the end of the year, but
yeah, I would be very surprised at that as well, because I think it was pretty much at the start of next year, the new year was when we started to hear rumors about getting a Splatoon Direct, and then it happened. And then not only did they announce off the hook with the Splatoon Direct for that, they then were like, hey, by the way, we're going to do a test fire beforehand, but the test fire is going to be a Splatfest, which still blew my mind when they announced that the first time around. I'm like, excuse me? Because I didn't have a Switch yet, which was catastrophic for me, because I was just like, at that point, I'd taken part in every Splatfest for Splatoon 1 on the Wii U, and I'd managed to get my wonderful Squid, who I still call Kamiko, to max rank for every single one, even ones that I struggled to make it to on time. I just about eked out the Queen rank, so it's just like, Not only was I not able to take part in an Inkfest, Splatfest for the first time, I couldn't get to max rank as a result. I'm like, no. So it was painful.
Yeah.
But that's how it be sometimes. You just don't have the funds for it. But I got hold of Splatoon 2 eventually when it came out, so I was not missing anything else at that point. I just wanted to do more Splatoon action and not be playing Splatoon 1. Although I do still miss Splatoon 1.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference though between Splat 1 to 2. I wonder whether we'll see as much of a difference between 2 to 3. I'm just having my fingers crossed that they release a Splat 3 themed OLED, if I'm honest.
I feel like a few people might be asking for that as well. I would not be surprised. But yeah, for me, things that I'm looking forward to for Splatoon. I mean, it does already look quite different. Like there's a couple of different mechanics being introduced. The spawn area is non-existent anymore because you're literally floating in as you respawn in. So that's a nice touch already. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things that I am looking forward to seeing what they do with. I mean, we already know that the museum is coming back. Freaking that.
Museum Delphino.
That blew me away. Which is why because I remember when the initial announcement for Splatoon 3 came out, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, it probably won't happen, but I would love Mahi Mahi. People were like, this looks like it's nowhere near Inkopolis. There's no way you're going to be able to. I'm like, don't say that, because they'll find a way. I know Nagami with the devs and whatnot. They'll find a way, and Alphonse pretty much confirming that, yes, indeed, we may still yet see more Splatoon 1 stages. So it's like, yeah, that gave me more hope that we might get Mahi Mahi back. And I'm just like, please do. I love that. I love that stage. I love that stage so much. I love the mechanic of that stage more than anything. Because it's like, yes, 1.5 minutes above the pool level, 1.5 minutes underneath the pool level. Please give me that back. I miss that stage so much.
You kind of had that schematics a little bit on one of the Splatfest mats.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember seeing that Splatfest stage. I was just like, yay. But it's not quite Mahi Mahi, but this'll do. Because unfortunately, like, you can only play that in Turf War. You can't play that in Ranked or anything.
No.
And I think one of my special memories of that was playing Rainmaker, and for the first time going, well, how is this going to work in Rainmaker? And then as I got it onto the long stretch up towards the podium, then I heard the stage start to lower behind me. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That completely changes the complexion of the match if you don't make it to the podium at that point, because it's just like everything is suddenly wide open. So yeah, they put a lot of thought into how that mechanic worked with the respective game modes, and I was just like, please. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. That's not to say that I didn't like the hotel in Splatoon 2. I just have a soft spot for Mahi Mahi. But what about you? Is there any specific Splatoon 1 stage you want to see back?
Flounder Heights, I think, was one that I did quite enjoy playing. I know a lot of people found it difficult to play ranked on.
Yeah.
But that definitely was one I kind of enjoyed. Possibly see. I'm just trying to remember what ones.
I know one of my friends wants a more finished version of Hammerhead Bridge, which I feel like would be very fitting if they were able to do that. But again, it's like you just don't know what they're gonna announce at this point. That's kind of the special part of this. We get to speculate and then watch our hopes and dreams get shattered into 1,000 pieces.
I had to say I hated Hammerhead Bridge. That was an awful map, but okay.
I never liked that, but one of my friends did. So I'm like, okay, fair play. If it gets in, I'll for you. But I also never had fun times on that bridge. It was a bit too big for my own liking. But anyway, enough about talk of the past. We're back into the present. Our first best of 7 grand final is about to start off between Chewits and Squids for Hire. It's going to be Macamart on Splat Zones, and we are now underway. And already you can see an immediate dash to the center, and we're going to lose one on both sides of the field. Very close in these first 15 seconds, and whilst Chewits did get the initial takeover, they're losing players by the second, and quickly it's going to be Squids for Hire back onto the scoreboard.
Yeah, great for Squids for Hire there. They were able to sort of get one splat here, there, from either side, But even though Chewits took the zone, they were able to get enough splats and take it back again. So Snipes, they're going down. Chewits do have the zone again.
Yeah, it's incredibly back and forth between these two. Clearly, both of them saving. Well, I say both of them. Squids here definitely saving a bit more of their proper showing for the final, it seems, as they tick on past the penalty points, and Booyah Bomb comes up as well. They've got options to throw it, but they'll hurl it towards the left-hand side and quickly get away from the zone as the missiles are locked onto them. Penalty points done and dusted down into the 60s. We might go into the 50s with this, as Chewits just can't quite get the tough coverage they're looking for. Now they'll finally do so. But again, it's all half and half. The baller might be able to tip it. No, it doesn't. But the rest of the team does finish the job. Put the penalty point back onto the sides of Squids for Hire. Good coordination.
Yeah, great play from Squids for Hire. They're using the turfing ability of their weapons very well to keep control of that zone or even contest it somewhat. But Chewits have now pushed up, and this is where it's going to prove difficult.
Yeah, the second they start covering all bases like this, it becomes very dangerous. And you see them just trying to figure out when to opt in for this. The Inkstorm is out. But again, they've already lost two of their respective players. There's somebody on the left-hand side there. But again, the range from the Explosion and the rest of the teammates combined just quickly close on in. Don't really give them a chance to get back out of there. The baller is going to come out, but quickly realizes it's a too dangerous situation and backs on out. But they're going to have to get a move on here. They're only going to have time for one more push here.
Yeah, that Explosion is proving a bit difficult, but they have managed to get rid of the Explosion now. And this is where Squids for Hire would try and push in, but no, Char and Conroe both go down there, and they're not able to contest that zone.
Unfortunate there, but it's going to be Chewits who continue their run of dominance, although not as easy as they would have liked it. A lot of back and forth, and Squids for Hire definitely getting some really good points on the board. But again, it was, as you say, the second the Explosion and the bamboos that began to finally rein in those targets, it became a little bit harder for Squids for Hire to come back into. But a really good first match between the pair of them. But it's Chewits who leads the way, and we're going to take Makamot off that randomized selection.
My curse didn't change it. We did have a 7th map.
So what's the stage that we haven't seen yet then, out of all of those? Because we've seen Manta, we've seen Makosat, Art Academy, Pump Track Reef. We have seen Snapper. No. We haven't seen Snapper. We haven't seen Snapper. Like, I was going through it, I'm like, no, we've seen Shipyard. I know we've seen Shipyard, because that was when Squids for Hire nearly came back from behind to win.
Yeah.
I know we had Shipyard. So yeah, it's just Snapper that hasn't been played yet. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully we'll see Snapper, and if not, then oh well. It'd be like that. But Flat Zones, in either case, go in the way of Chewits. They didn't have it their own way. Like, we thought that start might initially go their way, but they lost 2 in exchange for taking over that zone. And obviously, Squids for Hire still having a player at their disposal for the advantage. So, really good turnaround. And it's just unfortunate the second Chewits managed to get back in. They pushed pretty much in that wall line that we've often seen them do, where they had 2 on the left-hand side covering the little small block on the left-hand side. And you had the others, 1 on the zone and 1 on the upper crate. So it's like they pretty much had every angle covered. They just knew to be able to stall for time at that point. And nothing really the Squids for Hire could do, especially with the range that the Explosion has.
Yeah, it definitely was difficult for them. Like I said before we started this, watching the matches, even though Chewit had control, they lost it, and subsequently Squid for Hire had control of it. The timer was going down. They got to 55, I think, something like that. But basically, Chewit did what I said to do: just sit there, don't panic, just give it time. And then once they got a couple of splats, they were able to push in, take control, and that was it. Like, they weren't letting it back.
That's just the Chewits way at this stage. Like, any single time they realize it just seems to be almost impossible to take it away from them. Squids for Hire have shown glimmers of hope so far. They had a near comeback in tower control in their round robin match earlier, and they had a much better start than they have done as of recent in that Splat Zone match. So hopefully they can do that again as we head into tower control Manta Maria.
Yeah, we've only seen, obviously, zones and tower control so far. We will get to see other modes in due course. So this is all we're seeing at the moment. Tower control Manta, again, another difficult one, because the tower's always at a disadvantage with regards to positioning, with regards to that height. Like, it's really difficult to stay on there when you're playing against range.
Well, we're going to see how Squids for Hire deal with that explosion if it does indeed come back in, but then again, you probably expect to see it anyway. Chewits again in the yellow, they'll spawn in first, and of course the Bamboozler's there. We've got a Rapid in there, the Kenza Rapid to be specific, so we got a Blaster on show. Heck, the Squids for Hire are bringing in the Hydra, the custom Hydra to be exact as well, alongside some more dualies, and of course the two Kenzas off the shot and the Pro, so very much going all in with the range.
Yeah, Hydra can be very useful. Though it's slow to charge up, it does have that range on it, and it can push back, even if you can't. Like, it's hard to reach a Hydra.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but already we're going to see pretty much a 2 for make that a 3 already, as Geo is going to go down, and Chew is just running wild here, inking up the walls, going up to the side, and just covering as much ground as possible as Chewits make it to checkpoint 1, and they'll probably breeze through that uncontested.
Yeah, that was a double splat there from Chew, and then the rest of the team was getting the other splats in the background. It's just a rapid change of direction. You can tell the communication is happening amongst these players, because you can just see it with the way they're looking, the rapid change in direction towards players. And they have control here. Komaro going down there, and they're already at the last checkpoint.
Yeah, this is the way it gets a little bit dangerous, dropping into the spawn area, and obviously the spawn area does have that height advantage as well, but Chew is still on it, gets it to the third checkpoint. There's Toxic Mist there, which is going to slow you down and really hurt your chances, getting as many points covered as possible, but crucially, they are going to get stopped, and Chew finally does go down. 4-2 advantage now for Squids for Hire, but they need to get that tower back towards the middle ASAP.
Yeah, that was great play from Char, just sort of hiding, using the tower to their advantage, getting the one splat and then getting the second to stop people hiding. Snipes was, I think, the last player up, and was able to be pushed back to regroup. But Geo getting that snipe on Chew there.
Really crucial snipe, and unfortunately that pop from the Blaster again, proving dividends for Chewits, and just like that, most of Squids for Hire are pretty much down. And no sooner have Squids for Hire got 4 points on the board, it's back under control of Chewits as the Rapid begins to stake their claim on the spawn area.
Yeah, we're here pushing in with that Rapid, pulling out the baller just to give some protection, but Spid finally does deal with them. And Spid gets sniped. That's 3. I think that's 3 gone down there from Spid. Great play there from Spid.
Oh, Woomy a triple as Spid continues to run. Oh, unfortunately not going to get any more than that though. No sooner have I started painting their praises. Taken out by Chew, who is now back on that grill area as well. Biding their time, coming in with the Julie Scorchers, stopping one from coming up the wall as well. They've got their Rapid, well, had their Rapid as assistance, and now it's just them. But again, Geo can't get into position. This is kind of crucial here. Geo with that long range, big time anchor, especially as the Hydra, you kind of need to be in those kind of positions. And consistently being walled out by the Julie Scorchers is not helping their cause.
No, it's difficult with the Hydra that you can't keep the charge when swimming up walls. So it takes its time, but Geo getting a splat there, but going down to Spore at the same time.
Just like that, Chewits still onto that tower, still doing everything in their power to try and end this as a KO. 4-2 advantage as the rest of the Squids for Hire begin to spawn back in. And again, an outright storm happening in that central area. But again, it's going back into Chewits' favor there on the final checkpoint. It looks like they'll clear it. Missiles do come down and force them off, though. So really good stolen for time for Squids for Hire. And the tower is actually going backwards here. And nobody from Chewits is really running for it. They're all engaged in a confrontation. So whilst this skirmish has happened in the spawn area, no one's near the tower. Yeah,
that was Spid managed to get on the tower, I believe, before being splatted, and because of that, the tower just automatically went back, and none of Chewits were particularly to the center.
Bit of a loop there, as we're going to start to see everybody come back in. 50 seconds left on the clock, and in fact, all of Chewits are pretty much down except for the Julies. So just like that, Squids for Hire have found their opening and they're taking it. I think they might get a few more points on the board now. Only down to 6 though. They had 4, now they've got 6, and it's come back to the middle again. They just can't hold it.
No, like they're getting a couple of splats, but it's quite staggered. So by the time they're able to sort of get the last couple of people that are left, the other teammates are back in and basically on their case, and they just can't get rid of them. Char trying to get the second one there, got Spore, but was unfortunately taken out by their counter jugglies.
I think that might do it. Spid does get a splat in there as well, but with 10 seconds to go, they pretty much have to be on the tower for overtime to count here. They've got a 4-2 advantage, make that 3-2, and it looks like it'll be Chewits who will hold on in. They know that nobody's going to touch that tower, and that is where it will end. Squids for Hire cannot initiate overtime. It's not a KO, but it's still a point for Chewits as they lead this best of 7 by 2 points to 0.
I'd like to say that, like, great progress in respect of we didn't get a KO this time. Squids for Hire showed great defense there, stopping the tower from going back. I think Spid jumping on the tower, making the tower go back to the center, actually gave them assistance in regards to getting the splats, because then the opposition of Chewits had to basically retreat to get the tower to come forward again, and it worked in their favor. But unfortunately, Squids for Hire weren't able to get many points on the board, but they showed a good defense.
Yeah, really good defense in the end for Squids for Hire. And we just hope that they can try and find a way of turning that into some aggression, as we finally, for the first time today, are going to get to see my personal favorite mode. It's Rainmaker time! I guess the big question is what will we have on there? Bearing in mind we've had 2 stages taken off of the randomizer at this stage. We've had Manta Maria in this grand final, so that will be gone, and we've had Makomar in this grand final so far as well. So those 2 will be axed from the list. We are yet to see Snapper Canal in this competition today, and it looks like we're not even going to randomize it. We're just going to straight up go to Sturgeon Shipyard.
Oh, the oppositions are picking. Okay, so one team picks one map, and then it switches over to the other team the following. So that's why we're doing picking. Who picked Sturgeon? Squids. Okay, so this is Squids for Hire's picking. Rainmaker, Sturgeon Shipyard. Okay.
Alright. I guess that makes a bit more sense to be able to do it this way. It's nice to see the 2 teams just suddenly like go back and forth with the stage picks, which very much means that, you know, watching stuff like Tower Control Manta, you could very much tell that Chewits were very comfortable with that, even when they were getting pushed back towards the center. Now it makes sense that they were able to just rally almost immediately, just deny Squids for Hire any early points. But with this being Squids for Hire's pick, what do you think they're trying to play at here with Rainmaker Shipyard?
Well, Rainmaker Shipyard can change dramatically very quickly if you're able to get a wipe, or if you're able to get significant number of splats. The countdown, like if you go up that left-hand side of the map, jumping over, your points will plummet very, very quickly. Even just making it onto that platform on that side, they will jump. Your points will drop dramatically, and it can change. Obviously, that's the normal route, so most people just channel and protect that side. But if you're able to be very careful and very sneaky, shall we say, as we do sometimes getting Rainmaker matches, you could go the other way and get even more points. So
ultimately, it just comes down to how spicy our respective teams are feeling today. It is going to be match number 3 of our best of 7 finale here. Chewits currently lead by 2 points to 0 over Squids for Hire, who at least managed to not have a KO in that previous game on Tower Control. Let's see if they can score more than 6 points in this fight. Bamboozler coming back out, so too is the Cherry Sploosh is coming on out, so nice to see that variant make an appearance. And heck, we're gonna have the Booyah Aerospray as well.
yeah, that one's become a good fan favorite being used in competitive scenes now.
I mean, it's quick, it judges the Booyah fast. I mean, what's not to love apart from the enemy team hating spamming the Booyah bomb? But then again, that's what it's designed to do. And whilst Chewits do have the Rainmaker initially, a little bit backwards there, and only scored themselves 12 points. Geo with the Booyah, gonna get themselves 1 down. They're gonna immediately rinse through that shield. pop that, and if they pick this up, they'll likely score points almost immediately, given where it's been dropped.
Yeah, they're not going to pick it up just yet because they just want to give it a bit more time. The teams, the opposition of Chewit are respawning, so they just want to kind of get those splats. Geo unable to use that Booyah Bomb before they got splattered there. Rainmaker ends up being a patient game, I feel.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo it too early on, especially considering the fact that of all the modes, Rainmaker can go so quickly one way or the other. It's either incredibly close or it goes the distance. It's just, you never know with this wonderful game mode, and Complete Shield has been popped. It won't reset now since it's back into its usual position, and Chewits are making their way straight onto the right hand side. They got caught initially by a burst, and Geo will follow up with the assist and also get themselves another on the board as well, taking out IPS. Covering the bridge for the most part. In fact, it's pretty much most of Chewits down there. It gives Squids for Hire another chance to rally.
And this is what they needed. They have the map control that they really desperately need. Spores there sitting, like I said, on that left-hand side, which is the route most people choose to go down. VRs and specials coming out there to get that splat, and they do. And if Shark can get across, she does. That will give them the important points. And what's even better for them, the bridge is down.
And they're going to go for it. They realize they had to get it past the halfway mark at the very least. Yes, most of their teammates are down as a result. But crucially, that went from being 100 versus 82 to 45 versus 82. And I bet you anything, Chewits will now say, okay, my turn. And they do make it up there initially, and I think there's nobody up there to cover that. So that's going to be even more on the point. Oh, no, it's not! Well-timed grenade from Spid is going to stop them dead in their tracks, and that is a very hard-to-reach Rainmaker.
Yeah, well done to Spid there, using that bomb there just to stop it, because they used the bridge, their points plummeted very quickly. So they have got that 7-point advantage, and to get up there is even more difficult. So that Rainmaker will now reset. That was great defense there from Spid.
That's what you like to see as we enter the second half of this matchup, 52 to 45. Squids for Hire doing everything to try and take a game away from Chewits. It will be the first time in this cup, at least, that will happen. But can they keep this going? That is the question. There's a whole lot of pressure coming up from Chewits, who want to maintain their winning ways of just chasing them all the way down underneath the bridge. And the bridge is going to go up again, but this time they will score the points. There's nobody respawned in time, and despite all of the toxic mist, IPS gets it almost to the podium. What a beautiful push that was.
Yeah, that was unfortunate there. I think they didn't have anyone on that side to sort of protect it, and Ips was able to just like weave their way around the purple ink and get that run there. And so they now take the lead. That Rainmaker will reset though, but Chewits do have control of that bridge, and so that Rainmaker will be theirs.
Yeah. Of that there is no doubt, because none of Squids for Hire have made it back just yet. In fact, the one that did, immediately taken out. We've got a Booyah Bomb being charged up, and Foam unfortunately eclipsed the mini wall and not the actual bridge. So the Chewits will yoink that up, immediately charging on the far right side.
Yeah, Ibs is now trying to push it on this right hand side, which is the other route, but more unorthodox way of changing it, because it can be very difficult with opposition players fighting you. But Conroe getting the splat there on Spore, trying to get the splat there on Chew, but unfortunately goes down. Chew just hugging that wall just to hide it out, but you're avoiding them, but Spid does eventually get them.
Yeah, slowly but surely, Squids for Hire will find their way through, but with 30 seconds left to go, it's a dangerous position for that Rainmaker to be in, and if that resets back to the bridge, it's again back into Chewit's control, and they don't need to pop this anymore, because overtime will not activate whilst it's there, so they know this is theirs for the taking. As long as Squids for Hire don't pick this up, there will be no overtime, and Chewits will be 3-0 up, and you can see Squids for Hire trying to get on with this. They threw the Booyah Bomb, but nobody got collected. In fact, 2 of their players are already down, and I think that is going to be that. No one is there, and that will be free for Chewits in this grand final.
Yeah, just unfortunate there for Squids for Hire. They did very well through majority of that match, getting that lead when they did, having the map control, but like I said, it can change hands so damn quickly. So it's just like backwards and forwards, but Chewits just came in, and once they had the control, Ips did a great run with that Rainmaker solo pretty much. Like the team didn't follow them, but I think the team were dealing with the players stop them chasing. So it was down to those respawning. But yeah, great play there.
Yeah, really good plays indeed. Good coordination from Chewits. Every time the Rainmaker reset, it was back under their control. It's kind of like an unwritten, well, I say an unwritten, like everybody kind of knows it at this point. But in maps like the Reef, I mean, it's certainly more evident in the Reef than in Shipyard, but controlling the bridge really does help dictate the pace of the entire match. And obviously with Rainmaker, you're controlling an area that Rainmaker spawned into every single time it resets. So it's really good decisions. Really good to see Chewits just be able to just take a step back, realize they don't need to touch it, and just defend that entire area. And despite everything that Squids for Hire kept throwing on in, they just could not quite make it all the way through. And as a result, this is championship point for Chewits, who find themselves 3-0 up in our best of 7 grand final.
Yeah, they definitely had the upper hand. I say they can relax a bit more. They've still got 1 more point to win. It can be reverse sweep very quickly if they take off the acceleration too much. But let's see what Squids Hire can do.
You say take off the acceleration there in full world going into Clam Blitz. And
they
this
won't.
is going to be, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, they are not going to slow down. We are going to see Inkblot Art Academy coming on up as we have both of our teams begin to ready on up. So what is going to happen here at this stage? Knowing full well that Squids for Hire, well, they need to do something spectacular here to be able to stop Chewits' overly dominant performances so far. I mean, they haven't dropped a game in this final so far. They haven't dropped it in qualifying at all either. But we know that they are capable of losing games. It's just whether or not Squids for Hire can find a way of doing this. So we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, we will definitely see. Sure.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon anyone will bring a brush in?
Well, it depends. We're on Inkblot. I think a brush can be actually very handy for Inkblot sometimes, just because it's so quick to get from one basket to the other on this map.
Well, we're going to find out in just a moment. Game 4, it is championship point for Chewits. All they gotta do is win 1 game. The Bamboo's gonna come out alongside the Lunar Blaster. We've got another Blaster on the side for Squids for Hire as well, along with that Splattershot Jr. So going for that armor approach as well as the clams begin to be collected.
Yeah, both teams starting to collect some clams here. Armor already coming out here on the side of Chewits, but I think it might have been used a bit prematurely. I guess they want to use it as a defense or try and push, but they didn't really have the clams to make a push at the moment.
Yeah, not yet. You remember, for those of you who join on in, it's 10 clams for football, and there is one now for snipes. The entire team will now know where you are, and missiles are going to be fired off anyway, which is going to be the initiative for the push to begin, but they're going to quickly hop on back for the time being. The Blaster is their speed. Unfortunately, not quite fully covered by that pillar, and that is going to be barrier broken. We could not get the next football in. We'll stop once, but not stop twice. That is going to be 2 for 2.
They managed to get that in, but that was just consistent, persistent pushing forwards with that clam, getting that power clam in. So they are down to 60, but it's basically 2 of those footballs, and yeah, it can easily change hands quite quickly in clam blitz.
Yeah, and already Chewits are going to get themselves pretty much another wipe on the boards as well. In fact, there it is. There's pretty much a very staggered wipe as well. That is not going to help Squids for Hire in the slightest. And that is already pretty much the halfway mark. They're not going to be able to get any more clams in. Oh, now they are. Just be able to fling in some now. It takes it all the way down to 33. Unfortunately for Squids for Hire, they picked up the football immediately. I say unfortunately, never mind. Fortunately, they've got themselves a wipe on the field, and surely this is going to be a barrier broken almost immediately.
Yeah, this is what I mean. The bomb from one basket to the next, it's so close. You can just rapidly get there quickly. They're down to 47. They only need another, 4 clams and they'll take the lead?
Yeah, and they've got 3 minutes. Unfortunately, they've all been stopped right there and then. It looks like they're not going to get any more in at that stage. So it is going to be stopped, but a really good first final attack for Squids for Hire. And as we enter the second half of this matchup, it is currently 33-44 in the favor of Chewits. And obviously both sides now have penalty points as well, which will not be covered by just one football.
No, they just need like a football and a couple more clams on both sides. But 44, getting down to 44, so in quite a close, contentious match here. But Squids for Hire needs to get that wipe again. It seems like when they get that wipe, they push up and they push up some very quickly. Well, they could get it here.
Yeah, they got 2 of them. But they've got to be very careful here. You can just see some of those clams coming on down, but unfortunately Spid in no man's land there, and Chew is going to just quickly dispose of them before they can do anything else. Geo will pop the Brio, not quite get the splat there. Can they get the 1-for-1? They've got some assistance there now as well, and that is going to be a splat on their side as well. Just under 2 minutes left. Not quite with a football on the field just yet, although they are rapidly stacking those clams up, so you feel like it's not going to be too long until they finally do it. And to be fair, the ink coverage is in a majority blue so far. So Geo pops the Brio bomb, just about gets away with the missile spam. And in fact, they did take the bamboozle down, but they have lost the dualies and the junior. That's not what they need, but still, Spid gets a splat anyway.
Yeah, that was great play by Spid, getting that splat. They've got a football. What they've been doing and what they've been trying to do is just collect as many clams as they can. One, so the opposition can't combine and create their own football to break, but also because they need them. All they need to do is just throw all those clams in at one time and they will take the lead. They have got the clams to do it, but they just need to get the splats.
Yeah, and it's very dangerous to do that in the sense of, obviously with every power clam that comes through, there's going to have to be another break. And finally, it's Chewit who get the better of the exchange. In fact, that's pretty much a wipe. It's only the junior that's left, the Luna, trying to get a splat in there, and does so. Gets a direct on Geo. Assistance again on that top ledge, and they're down to 12. They're at 9, make that 6. One more clam, and it's over. It is all over from that point onwards. Chewits do not concede a single game. And the grand final ends 4-0 to them. They won the green. They won the yellow as well. Jesus, there's no stopping this team.
No, the previous pushes, they didn't quite have the clams to get the KO. But this time, I think 2 or 3 of their players pushed up by one, went and picked up all the clams and threw them in. So that's what they need. That's what they needed to do to get the KO, and they managed to get enough clams to do so in that final push.
So 3 cups here on Gfinity, 3 cups all to Chewits, pink, green, and yellow. We've still got purple to come, but for Squids for Hire, they're going to have to now try and play out in that if they so wish to, and try to aim for those purple finals as well to see if they can rally, gain a bit more experience, and maybe take that fight even further with Chewits. I mean, to be fair, not like they didn't try. They absolutely tried everything there. They had some amazingly close matches. They had a very near comeback in tower control earlier tonight, which very much nearly got them back into the swing of things in the initial stages, but just couldn't quite convert it. They managed to at least go to distance with tower control and Manta, even though they didn't score that many points. They denied Chewits the satisfaction of that KO, and they definitely held their own in the splat zones and the Clam Blitz matches respectively, even if they did fall to a KO. But commiserations to Squids for Hire, they will finish in 2nd place. And of course, for Affordable Alliteration, they finished in 3rd, not able to make it into the grand final, having lost to both of these 2 teams. But naturally, it's Chewits that walk away with 1,000 Nintendo Gold points for each of their players. And, well, deservedly so.
Yeah, they did play very well, but Squids for Hire definitely did not make it easy for them. They put up a decent fight, and many times we did think Squids for Hire could come away with a point there, but Chewits showing their experience and their domination by, okay, yeah, we're losing, but we can easily take the lead back.
Yeah, they have the confidence to be able to pull off shenanigans like that. But that is done for the Yellow Cup here today. Remember that the Purple Cup starts next weekend, the 27th and the 28th of November. That then goes into the 4th and 5th of December, with the finals of that respective cup taking place on the 11th of December. And again, the prize is very much still the same for that cup as well. 1,000 gold points for the winning team. And remember, that's for each player on the winning team. But that will be for then. We are going to wrap things up here once again. Thank you very much for joining us. Massive shout outs to Pixel Squid for running things behind the scenes. And of course, my fantastic co-commentator here today, Mike Buddy. Where can people find you if they want to see what you do?
Well, I think it's up on the screen at the moment. That's my Twitter handle. If you want to find me on Twitch, it's just O's, not zeros. Unfortunately, someone took my Twitter handle.
Who that person?
But yeah, if you want to catch me on either of those on social media, then feel free to check me out. I do a range of different things. Splatoon, obviously. But yeah.
And of course, if you would like to find me, it's TK_Layla on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on Twitch. Heck, it's even up on TikTok when I eventually get back to them, putting some more clips up on there, play a variety of things, and you get to watch some good old VTubing goodness, if that floats your boat. But anyway, that is us done here today. We will hopefully see you again for our next stream, which will be the 11th of December for that Purple Cup finale. Remember that the ladder qualifiers, they all take place off of stream, but please make sure to try and get involved by going to Splatoon inkfestuk.co.uk. Thank you all so much for joining in, both to those who took part and to those of you who tuned in, whether you're watching this live today or whether you're watching this back on the VOD. Thank you very much. Take good care of yourselves. And again, thanks to Gfinity for also helping to put this on as well. Take care, my friends, and stay fresh!